Friends, our next guest is David Urban. He is well known throughout our great nation. He was an advisor to the president in 2016. He helped orchestrate the 2016 Republican National Convention. He's a political commentator and a great American. Good morning, David.
Hey, Martha, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you have you're in high demand, so we're really lucky to have you. But I know you were just flying around with the president, and I was hoping you could tell our listeners.
Sure.
And I want to thank you for your service. You served our country in.
Oh, you're welcome. You're more than welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for all you do, and we'd love to hear from you.
Sure. We had a great night. So yesterday afternoon. Left a rainy Washington, D.C. With the president, along with Stephen Miller and Kellyanne Conway and Dan Scavino and Johnny DeStefano and a great group of folks with the president. Flew up with him to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, to a crowd that you couldn't believe. I mean, it was, Martha, I had helped out in Pennsylvania, as you said, and we had a lot of rallies in Pennsylvania, a lot of big crowds in Pennsylvania. Hershey, Pennsylvania, I think we had 14,000, 15,000 people. And in Wilkes-Barre, we had been there before. We had, probably 10,000, 11,000 people. And last night was the biggest, loudest crowd we had in Wilkes-Barre. And the president was just spot on. He it energizes him. The crowd gets energy from him. He gets energy from the crowd. And it was an unbelievable event. The president was in good spirits, and brought his message, just echoed his message that he does so frequently about economic prosperity, about hope, about defending our country, about all the things on the platform that your listeners know the president stands for: national security, liberty, freedom, secure borders, lower taxes, less regulation, and this crowd was jazzed, and they were ready to hear it. He was campaigning for Lou Bartoletta, who's running for U.S. Senate there, and Lou was in great form and gave a great speech. And the president spoke for about an hour and 40 minutes, and the guy has got limitless energy.
I know.
And, I was kind of getting a little tired there because it had been a long day, and boy, he just keeps going and going. And we got off the stage, we chatted, and we got back on the plane, and headed up to Bedminster. And just a great spirits, great mood. And this isn't a president. If you listen to mainstream media, this president under siege, the president's in this mood or that mood. I can tell you, the president is nothing but buoyant, optimistic, and working hard for America.
You're not kidding. And I'll tell you something else. You were on the trail with the president during the 2016 campaign, and you know how that energy was off the charts at those rallies. I mean, you were there, you experienced them. Now, that energy is even stronger, and it's because Americans are seeing that this is a president who makes promises and delivers. He comes through his promises.
You're exactly right. I was a little concerned. Right, it was a Thursday night. It had been pouring rain, and Pennsylvania really raining hard all afternoon. I was concerned. Wow, could we fill 11,000 people on an August Thursday afternoon? And we did more than 11,000. We did better than we did during the campaign. People were excited because of the promises this president's kept. He didn't make promises on the campaign trail. He's kept those promises. These aren't empty promises. These aren't hollow. So we talked at great length about moving the embassy to Jerusalem. I know you were there.
That's right.
But, so many presidents, both Republican and Democrat, had promised to do it.
Oh.
This president did it.
5 consecutive presidents, 12 altogether. And to be there for the groundbreaking in Jerusalem was a life-changing experience. It was my first time ever in Israel, but to be there and witness this extraordinary historic moment that this president made happen was truly extraordinary. And here we are. We have 4.1 GDP growth. We have the lowest women, Black, and Hispanic unemployment of all-time highs. Before you came on, we had Mike Liddell, the creator of MyPillow.
No, Mike's great supporter, great American, great patriot. he's got a great pillow too.
Yeah, well, but he spoke to directly the impact that this president has had. His ability to employ thousands of people and to pass on these tax cuts to his employees, and that's just an example of what this great president is accomplishing, and in such a short period of time. We're here less than 100 days to midterms, and I wanted to know, you were out there, you felt the energy, you saw the adrenaline rush. I mean, what are your thoughts moving into November?
Yeah, so some of this, Martha, some of this is cyclical and some of it's structural, right? So, for example, in Pennsylvania, in my state of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania legislature, with the help of the governor, the Democratic governor, Democratic courts, redrew the congressional districts in Pennsylvania such that they put Republicans at a severe disadvantage in Pennsylvania. They drew seats that no Republican, I don't care who you are, can win just because of the numerical shift. And so in Pennsylvania, for example, two seats which were formerly Republican would be Democratic in the fall because of the redistricting, and there's nothing that any candidate can do in that case. And so you have some retirements in really suburban big city areas in New Jersey and Philadelphia and some other places in the Northeast, and then in some seats in California and other places that were Republican that I just don't think are going to be able to be held by the party. And so I think you're going to see some losses. I'm not sure how severe. People, it goes back and forth. I can tell you this: wherever the president goes, those numbers are going to be high for our party.
Yes.
Turnout is incredible. This guy, I'm telling you, last night, Martha, nothing like I've ever seen. I've been doing this. I've run a bunch of campaigns in Pennsylvania and been involved in many campaigns. And this intensity, this level of intensity, this level of commitment is unseen. And so, the president said he's going to come back to Pennsylvania a couple of times to try to help out some of these swing districts. I think he can have a big impact there. And look, this is why they hold elections, right? They hold elections because you just don't know. The numbers in Pennsylvania, the president and I joked last night, and he referred to this. Lou Barr let us down by a little bit in Pennsylvania, and the president and I talked, and he joked about it when he was on stage. Our numbers were terrible in Pennsylvania. They were terrible. Guess what? We won.
That's right.
We won for the first time in 30-plus years. No Republican candidate done, because the president kept at it. He didn't believe the numbers. He didn't believe the hype. He kept at it, kept campaigning, and ran through the finish line. And that's what Republican candidates do across America. And I think we're going to be okay in the fall. And look, the good part is let's let the Democrats elect more Ocasio-Cortezes.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly left-wing,
socialist.
And America will see. They'll see what the Democratic Party is really about.
A socialist who hasn't been able to explain where all of the money is going to come from for the free tuition and free.
Sure she has. Taxing the rich and cutting the military. That's her explanation.
Well, and the extraordinary unhinged rhetoric that we're seeing from the left, there's, the Russians are coming, the Russian collusion, the this, the that. I believe that's going to help us win even more in November because, the American voters are smart and they see it for what it is. And you and I both remember on the campaign trail, I would see the lines. People would take their kids out of school. They'd wait in line for hours to see the president, and the polls would come out, and I knew they were wrong, and I would have people come over to me, and they would say, Martha, I'm voting for Trump, but I don't want anybody to know at work, right? We heard a lot of that. And so,
Absolutely.
Right? And they would say, I don't want anybody at my job to know I'm voting for Trump, but I'm voting for Trump. And they would whisper that in my ear. We saw the lines. We saw the adrenaline. We saw the excitement. And that excitement and that adrenaline is even greater. It's off the charts even more now all across our nation.
Because this president is giving, like you said, this promise is kept. These aren't just slogans. This is policy. These things are getting done. We just had today new numbers come out on unemployment, even lower, right? And it continues to be low. The economy continues to be high. Consumer confidence. These things are all things that the Democrats, and the liberal media elite had said. Oh, the president gets in there, it's going to be a gloom and doom, worse recession. It'll be a depression. Right. It'll be terrible. His economic policies will fail. And once again, Donald Trump defies gravity. and proved all the naysayers, the negative folks wrong. And look, this is an optimistic party. The mainstream media, I think, can't stand the fact that their heads exploded when he won, and I think their heads continue to explode because of his success.
That's absolutely right. And, I have to tell you, I have never seen such an unhinged group of left of center Democrat leaders in our country, from Maxine Waters to the gal that you just mentioned.
Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes,
right,
thank
sure.
you. Yeah, completely unhinged. And they're the face of the Democrat Party today.
Yeah, and listen, Martha, Americans will see that. Folks don't really recognize. You see what just happened in the New York Times. They, become running to, being pulled more and more to the left, but things that the people in America are just going to find, unacceptable. And so the good thing about America is it is a marketplace of ideas.
That's right.
And good ideas like this president has are going to be accepted by the American voters, and bad ideas are going to be rejected. And I think we're going to see, a lot more Donald Trump from not just this year, but 20, 21, 22,
That's
23, and 24. So I'm optimistic about it.
Well, and I just had somebody send. We take questions from the listeners. Asked if you were calling in from Air Force One. I guess you and Kellyanne Conway called in from Air Force One or something.
Yeah, so we did. So yesterday I had a radio show to do, and for Philadelphia as we were headed up to Wilkes-Barre, and so I was the guy that I had known and from the campaign, and called in, and Kellyanne and I sat there and chatted with him for a bit from the plane, but connection was kind of sketchy, so it wasn't a great thing, but we did it. I got home last night, got back to Andrews Air Force Base pretty late last night. They dropped President off in Bedminster, and I came back on an empty plane there, so with a couple other folks who were they were bringing the plane back to Washington, so got back late last night, so not on the plane.
Right, and I know you only have...
Not as exciting, sorry.
We only get you for one more minute. You are in such high demand, and you were appointed by President Trump. You sit on the board of the American Battle Monuments Commission. And you're chairman of that commission. It's a great big honor, and something as a former military officer is really meaningful to me. American Battle Monuments Commission is the agency that's responsible for all monuments and memorials and cemeteries to our fallen war heroes overseas. So cemeteries in France and Normandy, specifically Luxembourg, Tunisia, lots of World War I and World War II servicemen buried overseas, roughly 225,000 of America's best in the world are buried overseas in incredibly beautiful cemeteries, honoring their sacrifice and service. And so I've been lucky enough to be asked by the president to help out in that endeavor to make sure we maintain those and keep them the tributes that they should be. And tell your listeners, if you haven't been, if you're traveling overseas, and you should Google ABMC, American Battle Monuments Commission, and look it up. And these places are just phenomenal. They are truly cathedrals built to honor our war dead, and you should take them in because they are worth seeing, and the stories and sacrifice that folks have made. I know it's kind of a jingo, freedom isn't free, but when you walk around these places and just look at the numbers of young men who laid it all on the line for us and for the world, it's incredibly humbling. So, well, you're a veteran, thanks. And you have you and Donald Trump together have more energy than anybody I know. You also, I mean, seriously,
well,
I think
the president has a lot of energy. He has more than me, and I've got a lot. So
yeah, I mean, because you're on the board
he's an incredible president, and America's incredibly lucky to have him.
We are, and you sit on the board of directors of the Museum of the American Revolution and the Johnny Mac Soldiers Fund. You're co-owner of Politics PA. You have your own firm. You're the chairman of American Battle Monuments Commission, and you are supporting our great president Donald Trump to make America first. And I just want to thank you so much. You're a great friend,
thanks,
and thank you for everything you do. And we hope to have you back on soon.
I love being on.
Thank you. We'll have you on soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks for all your listeners. Thanks for their support of our great president.